What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to go through episode 3 of The Walking Dead Dead City, and this episode is titled People Are a Resource. So this is the third episode of this Walking Dead Dead City series I'm doing here on the channel. So if you haven't seen the other two episodes, I'll probably put them at the top of this video. If not at the top of this video, they'll definitely be at the end of the video, so check those out. Where basically, what I've been trying to do, I've been trying to do these videos a little bit differently than what my previous reviews. Like, if you go back and watch my Last of Us review series, I kind of just put some pictures up on the screen. You see me, and I'm just kind of talking about different things that I liked and disliked and things of that nature. In this one, it'll be a lot of the same. However, I'm going to kind of try to have the episode on the screen and go through scene by scene and just kind of talk about some things I really like, some things I didn't like, talk about some story stuff. So these videos are a little long. They're long-winded, but I think I can construct my thoughts a bit more in these videos than let's say if I was trying to do like a 10-minute long review. If you guys prefer that, I can try to go back to that, but I just like doing these so I can break down from scene to scene. As long as AMC Plus is working correctly, then I might keep doing it like this. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for coming to this video. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like on the video, sub to the channel, we really would appreciate it. And for all my Walking Dead fans out there, thank you, because I know it's more popular to hate The Walking Dead than to watch The Walking Dead. So anyway, thank you for being here. And with that being said, let's get into this episode, because I'm liking this show so far, but got some thoughts, so let's get it. Okay, so like I said in the intro here, I want to try to do like scene by scene, like what we did last time, and just kind of give you my overall thoughts of the episode, and just and go really scene by scene is really what I want to do. And I don't want this video being an hour long, but I think it's the best way to give clear, concise thoughts on the show as a whole and the episode as a whole. So anyway, we're gonna kind of skip ahead here. I believe this is the beginning of the episode right here. Um, so we'll just get right on into it. So the episode starts out with the flashback with the mute girl that Negan had taken along with him. They both were at this community. I'm assuming they called it New Babylon, and I believe that's where Negan met this mute girl, and he's taking care of her. And it shows a flashback of Negan sort of like, begging her to talk when she's in trouble, to talk, to say something. And he has a little bit of a you know, frustration with her because she will not talk, and he's like trying to get her to say something. You know what I mean? Especially when in parts where she's in danger and he's not around. There's a really good scene that comes up later, because throughout this episode, this flashback, it's kind of like it's a continuous flashback, and it's showing Negan teaching her like survival skills and different things and different ways to communicate besides just opening your mouth and talking. So in this episode, it kind of goes through a couple scenes like that. I want to say in this scene, the same scene, and I could be wrong about that. It might be one later, but in one of these scenes, and I really like it, where Negan is telling the mute girl here that a way that he communicated with Lucille when she was really, really sick was a whistle. So he told her, if you're in trouble, at least can you whistle for me? And she whistled, and he's like, good. My only problem with that, and I like that. I like the whistling communication. And obviously with Negan, we know that the whistle is obviously something that's like concrete with his character and the saviors and all that stuff. But my only thing is that we never really got to see Negan use the whistle for his wife. Like when we watch the episode Here's Negan in season 10, I believe it was like episode 24 or something. It's the season finale. Anyway, we never see Lucille get to the point where she's so sick that she can't communicate. Because as you guys remember, when Negan, so in that episode, he's pretty much he's doing the chemotherapy procedure for her, make sure he has the right stuff and everything. Well, anyway, he puts the new pack of the whatever you use in chemo, and I'm sorry, I don't know the exact terms. He puts it in the freezer, and he forgets about it, and it loses its temperature and essentially gets ruined, and he has to go find some more. Well, anyway, up to that point, Lucille, while she's sick, she's still moving around, she's still talking and communicating with him. So the whistling thing, I like that. And if they would have showed that, I would have been like, okay, that's a good callback. But you didn't really get to see that, so I don't know. When he was showing her that, it was just when he was telling her like, oh, this is what I did to my wife when she was like sick and she couldn't really communicate. I was kind of like, Okay, well that's not really what happened, but okay, whatever. So anyway, so then after that goes, after that that scene finishes, then it shows at the end of last episode, episode 2, you see the mute girl. She leaves the new hilltop to find Negan, which which is kind of bullshit to me because like again in this episode you see a bunch of flashbacks of her and Negan's teaching her ways to survive and a little bit of tracking, right? I mean, I don't think Negan's any kind of Daryl, right? Like Daryl is an expert tracker, so I'm not gonna put Negan on that same level, but he's kind of showing her of how to get around different ways that she can find her way. And so I'm gonna kind of cut my brain off towards it, but for her to find New York, that's for one thing, and then also to be able to find Negan because eventually that's coming. I call bullshit. So that does kind of throw me through a loop. I love this shot. I think that's super cool. One thing I really like about the show so far is the aesthetic. I love the buildings. I think the buildings look awesome. Um, and obviously, a lot of this is CGI, computer animated stuff, but I really really like it. And it looks legit. I really like where this is going. But anyway, she starts making her way towards New York. She gets in this she makes like a little raft almost, and she makes her way to New York, and that's essentially the intro. So we'll skip the intro here so we can get past that. Um, so as you know, the name of the episode is "People Are a Resource," and we know that that's something Negan has always said, especially when he was the leader of the Saviors. So I think where this episode's going. We're gonna have a little bit more contact with the Croat. Obviously, we know in the last episode that Negan and the Croat got some personal stuff, some things that happened with the sanctuary and everything. So that's gonna be cool to see, not only in this episode but going forward, to see a little bit more of that relationship. And I still hope that we'll get some flashbacks for that. I think that'd be really good. Like they're showing flashbacks with Negan and the girl, and I think that's cool. I hope the flashbacks don't end there. All right, let's see where we're at here. So again, we go back to the last episode. Negan and Maggie, the survivors they ran into, they kind of create an alliance to go get Herschel, and so they're working together, and they find out where the Croat and his crew are staying. It's the new sanctuary, and I think it should be a scene coming up soon where you'll see the new sanctuary. This character right here, I don't remember what his name is. I know they say his name a couple times in this episode. This dude's very, very sketchy of Negan and Maggie. He doesn't really want to help them. He doesn't trust them. And you'll see some scenes later where that gets in your face of how much he doesn't trust them to the point of some conflict. I will just say that. But I'm assuming if you're watching this, you've already seen the episode. But essentially, they're discussing what's the best way to get in there. They're looking at different possibilities. Is there a way underneath the sanctuary where they can get in, or should we just go through the front door and just that meme or that gif of I'm trying to think what his name is, Danny DeVito, and I just started blasting. Right, I think they're trying to figure out the best case scenario to get into the new sanctuary, right? Because it's risky whatever way you go. But anyway, so now you have the mute girl. She's using this like makeshift raft, and she's getting over to New York. By the way, again, another good establishing shot. I really can't get enough of these. I think this looks like this building right here. I think that looks so cool, so apocalyptic. And I just love like you see all the overgrown moss and grasses growing on top of the building, and how the buildings look kind of crumbled up and not maintained. I really really like that aesthetic, man. It's like what I've said for years, right? Like it's not a beautiful setting. It's very morbid, but it's beautifully tragic, I guess you could say. Like this looks horrible. It looks like a lot of people have died, but this looks beautiful to me. I just love that aesthetic, and something I've liked in The Last of Us and Walking Dead and all these any post apocalyptic stuff. Like one I think about is like yeah, The Hunger Games is probably one you come to think of, but like Divergent. If you guys remember that movie with Shailene Woodley, and I don't remember what the other guy's name is, but in those movies, they have a really good establishing shot of like buildings being in shambles and things like that. And I don't know, man. It's something about it. It's morbid. It's sad, but damn it, it looks beautiful. Maybe I'm just fucked up as a person. Um. So anyway, we have our crew here. They're looking out on out the window looking at the sanctuary because they're not too far from where the new saviors are holed up. It's surrounded by walkers, and what's really cool is the sanctuary is like inside this like MMA arena, which is awesome for me because I'm a huge MMA guy. I love the UFC. I love mixed martial arts. So I'm gonna see if they got a good establishing shot of the building because I want you guys to kind of look at it. I kind of just want to sit and like talk about it. AMC Plus is kind of you'll see. I'll have a hard time trying to stop the scene where I want to because AMC Plus is just so trash. It's really, really, really difficult. Like to try to fast forward the show for a second just so we can look and see what the sanctuary looks like. But Negan tells this crew about so essentially at this point they're trying to figure out a way to get into the new sanctuary, and the crew is like, I just don't know how we have small numbers. They have huge numbers. I don't know how we're supposed to get in there and do what we need to do to get Herschel and possibly kill the Croat. And Negan tells them about Rick, or our survivors from the original Walking Dead series, taking him down, and just to kind of give them a little bit of hope that with their small numbers that they can still do what needs to be done. And I thought that was a good scene. And it's really cool, like the take on Negan so far. Like with Negan, he's obviously they could do a big twist with him later on, but I like that he's really reflecting on things that happened in the past, especially with everything that happened with Rick and company, and killing Glenn and killing the people that came before, and swinging the bat around and all that shit. He's really reflecting on that and knows what he did probably wasn't good. But what I like that he keeps battling Maggie, like, okay, what I did probably wasn't good, but what things do you do that are so good? Like, is any of us really as good as we say we are? And it's a really good question. I think that's a good question to pose between the two because there's really no difference between the two. Yes, Negan did his ways in very dramatic, humiliating ways, but Maggie's killed probably just as many people, and I still like that they're still towing that line and still trying to really like who's really worse than the other, and really right now you can't really say one or the other is bad than the other, if that makes sense. So anyway, so they're still trying to figure out like the risk, what they need to do, and so that's kind of how this scene plays out. Again, that's when Negan tells a story of the saviors and Rick and all that. So now I believe this is the sanctuary. Yeah, the new sanctuary. So as we saw in the last episode, they kidnap the marshal and they bring him. We don't see this part, but they kidnap the marshal and they bring him back to the sanctuary to get information from him. Why is he there? Who is he looking for? And this is when the Croat finds out that the marshal, is looking for Negan. And you don't really get to see too much repercussions of that, too much of that really play out. But Negan has really said on a couple occasions now that he knows how the Croat works. He knows that when the Croat finds Negan, he's going to kill Negan because Negan tried to kill him years before, or at least a couple years before Rick comes into the occasion and all that stuff. Equation, excuse me, I said occasion. That's one thing about these longer videos. I start stumbling over my words, so bear with me. But look at this. Look at this shot. I love this. I think it's super cool. This looks like, honestly, this looks like the Apex to me. Like if you're any UFC fans out there, the stadium. Well, I don't know. There's some stands up top here, but I like it. I really, really like the octagon. It's I don't know. It's super cool. I guess like I'm not used to seeing something like this. It's such a cool area for apocalyptic type shows, and I just like this. I like the RV over here. They got, it looks like shit's cooking. They got like a little kitchen over here. I like this. I like this a lot. It's a really cool setting that honestly I wasn't expecting in a apocalyptic show. But you got to think an arena, right? Like any kind of arena for that matter, but especially like an Apex or a UFC style arena, boxing, whatever. You would think those would be pretty good places. I mean, they're big, they're open. You got plenty of places to put like tents and other things, right? Like other living things around. I don't know why you never really think of putting that kind of stuff in like an arena. Which I think you see a little bit of that in Fear the Walking Dead, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, now we'll go a little bit further here, and now they're really starting to go over their plans about what is a couple entry points. This guy right here, and I'm sorry I don't know his name, um, but he essentially knows a couple ways in and out. I think he's been there before, from what I'm understanding. So he's kind of telling them a couple entry points, and I think again, like I was saying before, they're trying to figure out what's the best approach. Do they go in there? Do they go walk through the front door, or are they going to find like some kind of tunnel to get them inside of the new sanctuary? So I think that that's the way in the pros and cons. I don't think he is as confident in the plan. So I just kind of feel he's going to die. But I felt like these scenes were a little drawn out in my opinion. Like they I know we're trying to set up a plan, but I felt like they had a couple scenes in this episode in particular where they kind of talked about like what they're gonna do for like an all of like 5 to 10 minutes, and that's a lot of story time when it comes to an episode that's only like 45 minutes long. Anyway, let's start skipping ahead here. Uh, so like I said before, this guy right here, he is very untrustworthy of Maggie and Negan, especially Negan, and you come to find out why he's acting this way. And you'll see the scene shortly between him and Negan, and you understand why he's being so like skeptical of them. Like he's kind of arguing with them too. Why should I trust you? And you know why. Like and the reason is, and I'm thinking it's the next scene coming up or soon. I know it's coming up soon. I don't know exactly when. Excuse me, my AMC Plus is like slowing down, so I'll let this play for a minute. Uh, but you start seeing a little bit of those conflict. You start seeing a bit of a conflict between him and Negan and Maggie because he's just so skeptical. So this scene is this scene was made to be kind of like to establish the Croat as a very menacing villain. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So far I don't find this guy menacing at all. He's a lot like Negan, like a lot like Negan was, with his ideals and everything else. But I don't really find him super intimidating. In this scene, you have the marshal, he's handcuffed, and like it's you'll see what I'm talking about when he comes into the room and he kind of gives his spiel for a minute and he's talking and he's trying to you know have dinner with the marshal. It like it's a cool thing. Like I've seen this in so many times, so many like action movies, right, where you have the villain and he's like eating while he's giving like this like long speech or whatever, this long spiel and everything else. And in this scene, he sits down and let me see if I can get this to play a little bit more. But he sits down to eat and he's talking to the marshal and he finds a maggot in his food, I believe. Let me see if I can get it going here because again, sorry, excuse AMC Plus. AMC Plus is so shitty and my phone just went off. I'm sorry. Um, let's see. I think we're right. We're close to it, I believe. And I think okay, there we go. All right, we'll hit play right here. So he's talking to the marshal, trying to just trying to loosen him up. He's got the key to his handcuffs. He's trying to be intimidating, but I don't know. Something just felt kind of off to me, and I can't explain it. I don't know. Like I just don't. I'm not really finding him as like, you know, charismatic. I'm not really finding him menacing to me. He just seems like a whack job, and like the most shallow way so far. If I could give one big complaint about this show is I think the villain is uh, just not very like I don't know. He just is. I'm not vibing well with him. But anyway, so in this scene, you see him look down. He sees like a maggot in his food, and he ends up like killing this guy. And it's actually kind of neat. I will say I do like where this scene goes to, like after this. But like you're watching it, and AMC Plus is kind of being ridiculous right now, and the scene's kind of drawn out longer than I thought. I'm trying to skip ahead. There might be some weird cuts here and there. All right, well, I was trying to show you the maggot in his like steak or something like that, and what he does is and this is pretty cool. He makes this guy eat this key, swallow it whole, and then he pushes the guy off of the balcony here, and you're wondering like where is this going, and then I'm gonna pause it here and there because I don't want any kind of copyright issues, but he opens his mouth and the Croat puts the key in his mouth and then he pushes him over the balcony. If I can show you that, because this stupid app is really giving me a hard time here. So he swallows the key and then he bangs his head a few times on the, on the on the banister, and he just throws his ass off of the roof in there. And the my problem with this scene in general is that, one, I don't see this little ass old dude doing that to a grown ass man. It just seemed very ragdoll to me. Like, I guess you could sit here and say the same thing about the guy that Negan was bashing his head through the window and going knock knock, in episode 2. Because obviously, like, for you to take like a body that's limp, right, and that's just a bunch of dead weight, and you're just dragging around like a rag doll, smash that through a couple windows and all that stuff. Obviously, it's not going to be as easy as that. Obviously, you kind of have to dumb it down because it's a TV show, and you can't. Some things you kind of have to turn your brain off about. But with this, man, it's just like he just turns the guy around, he bashes his head against the banister, dude just kind of not fighting back. It just seemed a little weird to me. Like, I just wasn't intimidated by this guy at all. And so far, I'm not. I like the presence of the Croat. I like that they're making him out to be, a sinister villain. I do like that. I think he can be sinister, but so far I'm not really feeling that. I'm not getting that same feeling of this like psychopath. Yes, the dude's obviously crazy, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling the I don't know. I'm not feeling the severity of the situation with this guy. We know he's evil. Negan has established that. Negan's talked to Maggie about who the Croat is and everything in between. But yet, I'm still not convinced of how evil this guy is. So coming up on this scene, and I know this is like, again, I feel like I'm dragging with this review. So I'm trying with my breakdown. Um, so now we get to this scene right here, and I really like this scene because this shows a lot of compassion, and I like this a lot. It's a really good connection moment between Negan and Maggie, and this is stuff that I really really like because as much as going at each other's throats can be interesting, right? Like, okay, one might kill the other. Maggie wants to kill Negan. Negan obviously doesn't want to kill Maggie, but this will they, won't they shit, you know. And I hope to God they don't end up sleeping with each other because that will literally ruin this. I would probably laugh my ass off, but I don't think that's going to happen. I hope the writers are not that shit to do that. But I do like this scene because you see pictures of Herschel. I don't know if you guys can see it. You can see the top of his head right here. You see a couple pictures of, of her with I want to say that's Glenn when he was little. I think I can't really see right there. And then there's a drawing. Well, there's Glenn's watch. It was Herschel, her dad's stopwatch. And then there's a picture of Glenn. And it's really, really good sentimental moment. And right after she sees the picture of Glenn, look who walks through the door. And you see Glenn here, and then yeah, you can guess who walks through the door. And it's sad, man. It's sad because as someone who loves Negan, it does suck, And as soon as she sees Glenn, here comes Negan. But I really, really like this part though because at this point, Maggie is distraught. She's sad because the guy we were talking about earlier, who's kind of very distrustful of Negan and Maggie. He tells one thing I forgot to mention in that scene was he tells Maggie that your son's already dead. You need to just forget about it. It's too much of a risk. And like he just like didn't give a shit. Maggie's upset, and as soon as he said that, Negan's like, all right, I think we need to take 5 here, and everybody just kind of goes their separate ways. And then Negan, I think just to try to make Maggie feel better, he goes and gets her a New York hat, like I guess from like a gift shop or something, wherever this is located at. He brings her a baseball cap that says New York on it, and he brings it to her to give to Glenn because give to Herschel because obviously dude's he's always wearing a hat and knows that. I think he said something about he always wanted a like a New York kind of centered hat or whatever. So he brings it to Maggie, and it's a really good scene. He tells her that I know that I don't shut up a lot, but I can listen. And here goes my freaking AMC Plus. So I'm gonna have to get out of this and go back into it. So anyway, this scene plays out, and so Negan and Maggie have a little bit of a heart to heart chat where Negan says, "Look, I'll listen to you." So Maggie opens up to him about just about losing people. That every time she looks, she just finds that she's always losing people, and all the people that. So how she explains it is that it seems like the only thing she has to remember these people is in this box where she had the picture of her dad, picture of Glenn, picture of her and her baby, and she kind of opens up to him about that, and Negan listens, and it's a really good scene to show that I think there's definitely some. Yeah, Negan obviously cares about Maggie to a certain degree. Like if he wanted to just kill her, if he wanted to just leave her behind, he would have done it already. This situation, right? Excuse me. This situation right here doesn't really do anything for him. Like obviously he cares about children, he cares about Herschel, but it's not like anything in it too much for him. And so if he wanted to just leave her, he could have already done it. And I like the scene. She's talking to him, and it's so weird to be talking to somebody that killed your husband. I mean, and it's crazy to kill somebody that's so close to you, and she's opening up to the man that did it. It's a wild scene to believe that we're still here. So anyway, she gives her spiel, and then Negan talks about Annie, and finally we get a little bit. I wouldn't say closure, but we get a little bit more about Annie, right? Annie and Negan were together at the end of Walking Dead season 11, and she was pregnant with his kid, and Negan doesn't really talk about her all that much, and how he explains it here is that he was supposed to meet her somewhere in, I think Louisiana or something, and he was supposed to get on the train, and he said that he'll be there with her. Well, he goes into this whole story about how she went scavenging for something. She ended up getting jumped by these dudes and presumably raped and beaten and things like that. So he ends up finding the guys, he kills them, and then he said that uh, they were supposed to be just going somewhere else together. He was going to meet them somewhere, and he wasn't able to. He missed them. So he hopes that they're not dead. And that was good to finally get a little bit of, like I said again, not closure, but just a little bit more of a okay, let's just not mention that she even exists. So I'm interested to see if we see her in the fold. There's actually a character that comes up soon. I thought it was her, but it's not clearly. So anyway, so Negan opens his heart up to her, tells her about that, and at the very end of the scene, Maggie's like, "I thought you said you don't talk too much," and I thought that was good. Good little joke there. And yeah, so you see more flashbacks with Negan and the mute girl. I'm gonna kind of move a little faster here because I feel like the first part of this episode is I've really just been lagging here. So I apologize. If you're still here, thank you. Don't forget to hit the like button. Um, so you see more of these flashbacks, and it's just more flashbacks to Negan teaching her more skills to survive, and watching your surroundings. I think one of the things he says to her, if you keep your eyes open, there's clues all around you to tell you where you're at and where you need to go. And so it's kind of sort of explaining why she's able to find New York and why she's more than likely going to be able to find Negan, right? I still don't buy it. I still don't buy it. But you know what? Whatever. That's fine. So anyway, episode goes on. And now we're in present day, and she's still on the lookout. She's in New York. She's looking for Negan. Good establishing shot here. Let me see if I can go back a little bit. I don't know if this is gonna. Let's see. I'm gonna see. So I thought this was actually. I thought this was Annie at first, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." It's not. So, didn't want to get our hopes up here, but anyway, we'll keep going here. I didn't see this when I first watched the episode, but keep an eye out right here. She picks up this like stuffed dinosaur that belonged to her, and I did not realize that. So what I'm assuming is that she dropped it to follow her back to where Negan and everybody was at. To me, it's such a stretch though. Like, right? Like, I'm not saying that's like poor writing, but in my opinion, like, it's such a stretch that, okay, I'm gonna drop this, and then the person's gonna pick it up, and then I'm gonna follow this person back to where Negan's at, and I don't know, dude. It's just hard to believe that that's the case. I love this shot. Again, we go back to really nice shots of New York. I think it's really cool. There's a guy that I watch on YouTube every now and then. I think he's Ronnie Hayes from Make a Path Presents. I love his channel. By the way, definitely check it out. He's way more subscribers than me. He's been doing this for a long time. But he talks about how there's a lot of one thing he doesn't really like about this show is that it has a lot more establishing shots, and then you cut to a scene where they're like in a hallway or something. Like they'll have a shot of a building, and it'd be like a sitcom, right? Like think about like the show Friends, right, where it'll pan to a building, and then the next scene you're inside the building. They have a lot of that in Dead City. It bothers him. It doesn't really bother me. I just like the aesthetic. I think everything looks super cool, and I think it looks beautiful too. Look at the sunset right there. Um, Really cool shot. So we go a little farther, and this is the part that I like. I kind of like didn't know what the hell was going on here. So obviously, they're looking to go into the new sanctuary. I guess the next day or something. I think what I'm understanding, and they have like all these candles up. They got a bowls out, and they kind of like start putting things that are important to them in the middle of the table, and then they proceed to eat. It's almost like a thing to get ready for battle, almost like this is it. This is the end kind of thing. And so like they're putting out necklaces and bracelets and other stuff, and then they end up eating. It was kind of a really drawn out scene. It was super. It was interesting. Um, then you go back to the sanctuary, and you have the Croat hyping up his people, and he says people are a resource, and he's screaming, and people are chanting and rooting for him and stuff. It's just a different feel, right? Because even Negan, right? Negan had his speeches in front of his people, but this almost seems like it's like a rave, right? He's like almost getting people hyped up to go break some shit. So go a little bit farther here, and essentially, so they're still here. I think this is this Maggie right here? I think it's Maggie. Yeah, it's Maggie right there. I think that folded up picture was Glenn. I think I could be wrong about that. But anyway, so this is the part that's pretty cool. It kind of reminded me of The Walking Dead season 3 with Daryl and Merle when the governor puts them inside like these. Well, they're like hooked up to these poles, I believe, and they have to fight off the walkers. This kind of reminds me of the same thing. I didn't really know what this was. It's almost like they had like a barrel that had like a dead body in it, and it had some kind of liquid, and it was attached to these masks. And he puts the mask on the marshal here, and he like starts tripping balls. And so they throw him in the octagon, and he has to fight his way out. Essentially, he has to fight. Like you got these walkers coming in, and it's a pretty cool scene. Couple cool kills. Nothing really like crazy or surprising. The only thing that was super cool was I believe this walker right here that he's about to decapitate. And I'll show the scene because it is pretty cool. We've seen stuff like this before, but I was happy to see it. And it's gruesome, it's gnarly, but the best scene is what comes after. So he ends up chopping. He ends up like cutting the guy's head off, and then when the body hits the ground, ow, I hit my elbow. Ow, that was not funny, even though I laughed. So he's on the ground. The Croat looks at him, and so he gets to the Walker corpse, and that's the same guy that swallowed the key. So he finds something sharp. He cracks open the guy's stomach, and he like digs all up in his guts and his bowels and gets the key. And I thought that was sick. I'm sorry. Look, what do I think about the episode so far? I thought this episode was pretty average. I didn't think it was anything great, but I thought that was gnarly. I thought that was cool, and the Croat was impressed by that, and I thought that was really cool. A good like the way he looks at it, like he's how far he's willing to go to get the key. So he's like digging through his guts and his other bowels, and man, I thought that was super cool, man. If you're a gore nut, man, that was awesome scene. I really really enjoyed that. Um, but anyway, he starts killing the walkers, and obviously any kind of walker fights, walker scenes in general are always cool. And I like the marshal a lot. I find him he's obviously not the bad guy in the show. The Croat is obviously the focal point of the show as far as villains goes, but I find the marshal super intimidating. I find you don't really know much about him as far as a story. You see that one scene with him going to the apartment building, and you're assuming that the guy that's there is like his brother or his nephew or something. We don't know that yet, and maybe you guys already know. Please indulge me if I miss something. But you see a little bit of stuff about him, and the stuff that we've gotten with him, I like so far, but just nothing that's really like blown me away. Nothing yet. We still got 3 episodes, so um, that we still got some stuff to do. So I'm gonna skip around a little bit. I might be missing some stuff here, and that's okay. I don't want this review going an hour long. I'm probably already about 25 minutes or so. Um, so the then this scene right here is very very particular to me because if you blink you'll miss it. So the lady that we saw, she had her hood up. She picked up the stuffed animal that the mute girl left behind. Um, Maggie sees that. Now, where I'm confused at, and again, indulge me if I missed it, and if they didn't explain this is bad writing. I don't know how Maggie thought that blue dinosaur was the mute girl's, and I feel so disrespectful calling her that. But I don't think Maggie knew that was hers. You know what I mean? Like I know we see flashbacks of that. Maybe Negan's telling Maggie this. I don't know, but I don't know how Maggie knew that the plush doll or the little stuffed animal was hers. I'm really finding it hard to believe she knew that, but for some reason she sees the stuffed animal and she's like, "Whose is that?" And or where'd you find it? And the woman here says, "I don't know. I just picked it up off the road." And she said, "Okay, can I have it?" And she's like, "Sure." And so Maggie takes it, and you see by the end of this episode here, we'll kind of keep going. We got about a little over around 10 minutes or so left of this episode. Um, but you see some more stuff with the Croat. The Croat's just wondering, were you here? What's really your deal? And the Marshals are admitting that I'm here. I'm from New Babylon, and I'm looking for someone. I'm looking for Negan. And you see the Croat immediately, his face like lights up because he knows who that is. So now the Croat knows that Negan is not too far away from where he is. And yeah, I think it's leading up to a fun interaction between the two. So, but anyway, I'm trying to wait for my AMC Plus to refresh because if I fast forwarded here, it's going to freaking like my PC might blow up. This app is so trash, man. They've got to fix this. I'll try to fast forward a little bit, but let me see. I might have to play it a little. Um, and in this scene too, Croat he takes off the marshal's boot, and inside the marshal's boot is that letter that from his brother, I'm assuming, or something, and it has the address of where it's from. The marshal obviously held sentimental value to him, and he starts reading it out loud. And like I said, this is the scene where he finds out what he's really doing here because he's kind of being tight-lipped about what he's doing. And then he says, "I'm here to look for Negan." And the Croat, he obviously because he knows him, he's like, he's like, okay. So I wonder if he's gonna try to get the marshal to work for him or work with him to find him, and that'd be kind of interesting and sad because I like the marshal, I like what they're establishing with him. It's not a lot, but I like it so far. I always like genuine characters you can root for. So this is the scene that's really really cool and something it was leading up to with. I don't remember what his name is, and I apologize for that. But it's this guy. It's the guy right here. He's been skeptical of Negan Mag ever since he met him, and he finds out that Negan is a wanted man. When that scene in episode 2 where he ends up taking Negan's stuff, I think the jacket and the bag he was wearing, they were looking through his shit and found that he had that wanted paper that had his description and had his face on it, and he's a wanted man for murder and all kinds of other stuff. And so he's skeptical of him. So right here, the guy asks him he needs to leave. He's got the paper right here with Negan's face on it and says, "You and her need to leave." And Negan's like, "I'm sorry, man, but I'm not going anywhere. There's really nothing you can say or do is gonna make me leave." And I'll kind of fast forward a little bit. They kind of get to a scuffle, and Negan tries to grab something to hit him with it. Dude grabs him in a bear hug, and Negan takes out a freaking cheese grater or whatever the hell that thing is, and it's pulling his skin. It was kind of weird the way it happened because he just kind of lays it on his forehead and swipes like very slowly. Like I just watched Evil Dead Rise again last night. Phenomenal movie, by the way. Anyway, there's the scene with the cheese grater where the young girl who's possessed by the deadite, takes the cheese grater and slams it on this girl's leg and just pulls hard on her leg, and you just see you see some blood and some skin. He just kind of lays it on his forehead and does like a light swipe, and it does all that much damage. But I digress. Cool scene anyway. The dude stumbles back and he touches his forehead. The shit hurts like hell. He steps back, he trips, and bam, falls right on this. And it's kind of dark right here, so I apologize. But it's like a piece of pipe sticking up on the ground. He falls right on it. Gnarly scene. Negan goes over to him, pushes his head, kills him all the way. I liked it. It's gonna add a bit more conflict to the group. Are they gonna help Negan and Maggie now? I'm a little bit. I'm a little bit skeptical that they probably won't. Maybe they will. Maybe they knew this guy was an asshole. I mean, he kind of came off like an asshole. He definitely wasn't as friendly as the main woman and guy in that group. They're very, very comforting. They're very open. He was not from the jump, so maybe they don't like his ass either. I don't know, but that's a big guy, big asset. He just died. So anyway, this is like the last scene of the episode, and Maggie goes outside away from everybody else, and there's like a barrel, and so you have the mute girl in the car, and she followed the girl who had the stuffed animal all the way back to where Negan and Maggie are at, conveniently enough. And she's looking outside, and Maggie is out there all alone. She recognizes Maggie, and Maggie's about to put the stuffed animal in a barrel and burn it. And they kind of do a little flashback here, essentially just knowing your surroundings, clues, things like that. It's just another one of those. It's a good moment, just to tie it all into how she got there. But then you also see the stuffed animal and I think it's like ripped or something. So he starts, wrapping it around, which by the way, that's one of the main reasons they're in this part of the woods anyway, was to find that stuffed dinosaur. So it's definitely hers. So she followed it. And essentially the episode ends with Maggie burning the Sorry, AMC is being really, really stupid, man. This app is it's so difficult to, like, if it's just what it is, right? It's like the refresh rate is so slow. But anyway, you see Maggie right here. Negan steps away from him, and Maggie is burning. Did I go backwards? I think this is for the next week's episode. Okay, hold on. Let me go back here. Let me go back a little bit to maybe here. Let's see. We'll play it. We'll pause it. Let's see, because I want to show that. I want to show that scene. Yeah. So Maggie, she's burning the stuffed animal, and what I'm understanding from that, and maybe I have a wrong interpretation of it. Let me know. Um, it's kind of wrong, right? Because it's selfish. It's a selfish thing that she's doing here, and this is obviously next week's episode. So we'll kind of stop her right here and give me 1 second so you can see my beautiful face in full screen. So anyway, now that you can see me in full screen, so at the end of the episode, you see Maggie and she's burning this stuffed animal, and just so she can make sure Negan has his eyes on the ball, because if Negan knows that she is around there, then he'll stop what he's doing and won't help her out anymore. So she's using him for her own personal gain, and that will come back to haunt Negan, and it's going to be some interesting conflict there, because Negan's trying to keep a level head with Maggie, and I wonder what will happen. I'm curious to see what I don't think it'll be like anything to the extent of I don't think Negan will kill Maggie or anything like that. I don't think he'll really like do anything that's rash, but he's not going to be happy about it. So it's dropping some interesting things here and there. But anyway, look. This video is going on way too long. All in all, man, I liked the episode. I think it was pretty average. I like the Octagon Walker kills. I like Negan and the big guy. They get into a scuffle. Negan accidentally kills him. Wasn't really trying to. I thought that was pretty gnarly. I like the especially in the Octagon sequence with the Marshal, where he cuts that Walker's belly open and the key is inside. I thought that was really cool. So, had some good moments in this show. Good good conversation between Negan and Maggie. I like them kind of Negan trying to comfort her and Maggie opening up to him because really at this point he's the only one really going to listen to her. Good stuff, man. I am liking this show. The 3 episodes in, I like all 3 of these episodes. I think the third is probably the weakest out of the 3 so far, but all in all, man, it's getting good. So let me know your thoughts of episode 3 down below if you're still here, and thank you for watching this long-winded videos. This sometimes can be a little bit of a struggle, so let me know what you guys think about this format of video, and then if it's something that you guys are interested in, because I know they're long, but I like going into detail about these different scenes and things like that. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do episode 4 when that releases, and the other breakdowns on the channel as well. So definitely check those out. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next one. Stay dead, my friends.